Hello everyone, FPL Raptor here and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. In today's video, I have my Game Week 11 transfer plans. In this weekly series, at the start of the week, I take you through some of my updated thought processes, transfer plans, and things that I'm just thinking about ahead of the upcoming game week. If you're enjoying the content here on this channel, please do remember to like, comment, and subscribe. But without further ado, let's jump into today's video. So guys, just going to start the video by saying apologies if I sound slightly strange. I'm extremely under the weather. I do not feel well at all. The content will still be exactly the same this week, but just to let you know if I sound slightly strange, I do apologize. I'm just not feeling very well. To start with the Game Week 10 review, it was another cracking game week for me. 7th green arrow in the row, 85 points all out, and I've gone from 578th in the world to, at the time of recording this, late on Sunday evening, I'm currently ranked at 149th. So very close to the top 100. There is still the Nottingham Forest Aston Villa game to go ahead on Monday, but there aren't that many highly owned players in that game, so I shouldn't drop too far. So by all accounts, I expect to finish game week 10 inside the top 200. At the time of recording, I'm only about 3 or 4 points away from the top 100. I'm about 30 points away from first in the world, which I don't expect to ever get that close, but there are a few people asking, so it's around 30 points to get there. But a lot of the people, not all of them, a lot of the people in sort of the top 10 or 20 have already played a few chips. So I think we're in a very good position considering we've only played the first wildcard. Another lucky week. Again, I've had a very, very good amount of luck. I will hold my hands up and acknowledge that. But I do still think that my Game Week 8 wildcard was very well chosen. I think I made a lot of good decisions there. I did so much research. I thought about flexibility. I thought about expected minutes. I thought about the talisman theory. I thought about penalties, set pieces as well. And I think I picked a really good team. And the team hasn't really changed much since my Game Week 8 wildcard. So this week in particular, it was 85 points all out. A few players really delivered. Obviously, Trippier getting an assist and bonus points despite conceding. I've had Trippier since Game Week 1. If you're new to my channel, we've had him since Game Week 1. Haven't taken him out at all. I think we only benched him for one of his returns. Outside of that, I've had him in my starting 11 pretty much every week, and he's just been exceptionally good for me. Even when Newcastle concede, he still seems to pick up points and bonus points. Cancelo 18-pointer, remarkably good. We did consider selling him at the start of the season when his attacking threat was really low. I just think he's so good. And the thing is with Cancelo, there just aren't many good options outside of him. I don't think it's necessarily that I love him as an option, especially with obviously Liverpool and then a blank coming up. But I do think that the lack of defender options at the moment and the fact that from 13 onwards, I'm probably going to want a City defender. I just don't see a need to sell Cancelo at the moment. The midfield delivered for me big time. Bowen 7 points, Foden 11, Martinelli 12. Bowen is indeed on penalties, which is fantastic because one of the main reasons we chose him on the Game Week 8 wildcard was because he took a penalty in Europe the week before. And we said, if he's on penalties, he's a different beast. And in fact, he is still on penalties by the looks of it. So that's another string to Bowen's bow. And I do think that as a result, I think he's an even better option. And potentially you could still even look to bring him in ahead of Liverpool in 12. I think that was one of the things was putting us off. Liverpool don't look great, and Bowen does look pretty good, so I think that's a good option as well. Foden, you could say was lucky, you could say was unlucky. He obviously came off in the 57th minute, which was unlucky, and he also set up, I think, 2 big chances he created outside of the goals, so slightly unlucky there. But the assist for Cancelo's goal was very, very lucky. So I think all in all, I'm happy with the 11-pointer from Foden. Continues to deliver. That is now 5 goals and 1 assist in 3 game weeks since I brought him in. So I had him on the Game Week 8 wildcard to get 6 returns from him, including 5 goals. I didn't ever expect it to go that well. So massive props to Foden. I think Foden's my favourite player in FPL this season. It hurts me as a Manchester United fan, but you've just got to look at him. He's a talented player. I love watching him play. And also in FPL, he's been fantastic for me. Maddison 1-pointer is not ideal, but he did get me like a 7-pointer in Game Week 8 and 18-pointer in Game Week 9. I can't expect delivery from Maddison every single week at that price. So I'm still happy holding Maddison. I still like the fixtures coming up, and I don't have a massive issue with him. Martinelli 12-pointer was absolutely massive. Really appreciate that from him. On Sunday, did not expect that at all. And for him to outscore Jesus was massive for me. In fact, if you want to know, before Jesus got his assist, I was actually ranked 99th in the world. So I did sneak into the top 100 very briefly, but that Jesus assist bumped me down. But Martinelli getting 12 points, fantastic. I think I'm just going to hold Martinelli for the foreseeable future. Kane seems to get just a single goal almost every week. Another 7-pointer from him. A bit like Trippier. He's not very explosive, but the fact that he ticks along every week is absolutely brilliant. And at that price, considering I'm probably not captaining him anytime soon, yes, it might be a bit expensive, but for the time being, I don't like any of the other striking options, and I don't really want a second premium midfielder. So for now, Kane survives, but maybe in the future, If we're captaining Haaland every week, we might not even need a second premium. It might make sense to switch to a 1 premium draft. Haaland, single goal, not much to say. I'm still going to continue captaining him. He could have had 2 or 3 in that game once again, and I really fancy him against Liverpool in Game Week 12, as we'll discuss in a second, in Game Week 11, I should say. And then Mitrovic, auto sub. This is the jammy, lucky part for Game Week 10, right? Incredibly lucky, incredibly jammy. I will fully acknowledge that. So on the deadline stream, I brought in Castagna for Salisu. That was my 1 transfer, and then I rolled the second one. The reason for Castagna was it was basically Castagna, Justin, or Mings, and I just think Castagna had double the goal threat of both Salisu and Justin. So purely for goal threat, I thought Castagna made sense. The lucky part was, of course, he came off in the 57th minute due to an eye injury, which may be unlucky, which we'll discuss a bit later. But he came off in the 57th, and then Leicester literally conceded like 10 or 20 seconds later. So everyone else, Ward, Justin, all of the other Leicester defenders lost their clean sheet. But because Castagna came off early, he banked the clean sheet, and as a result, he actually got a bonus point as well. So yes, that was incredibly lucky to get a 7-pointer from him. And the fact that Mitrovic didn't feature as well, that is very jamming. That's very lucky. But again, when it's your season, and you do need these parts of luck, these bits of luck in FPL. The rest of the bench, mixed bag. I'm glad I brought Castagna in, because if I didn't bring Castagna in, I would have actually had Mark Gahey first sub, who got a 1-pointer, and then third sub, and I was never going to put Andreas in my starting 11 or first sub. Andreas got a 6-pointer. That goal was incredibly well taken. So all in all, I'm incredibly happy with the way Game Week 10 has gone for me. 85 points. Like I said, we're about 2 or 3 points away from the top 100 now. I guess that's the aim for Game Week 11, but the team doesn't look perfect. So without further ado, let's take a look at the Game Week 11 team and some potential transfer plans as well. So here's an early look at my team ahead of Game Week 11. We're in a very, very good position, but there do appear to be a few issues starting to form. Of course, there will be a team selection video on Thursday, and there's actually going to be a deadline stream on Friday because it's a Friday evening deadline. So there'll be 2 pieces of content before I submit my team. This is just an early look and some early thoughts. So we are lining up in a 3-4-3 again. My team value is actually up to 103 million now, so it's incredibly high team value. That's not due to early transfers. It's just due to being lucky that the players that I've brought in have done well, and then other people have started buying those players. I still have 0 million in the bank because I did Salisu to Castagna, but I do have 2 free transfers because I only used 1 in Game Week 10. So this is the way the team currently looks. I'm actually very, very happy with the defence. I know I've got Pope and Trippier against Manchester United, but if I look up to Game Week 16, I think they're fine for now. I do have the option to downgrade Pope as a transfer, so that is a possibility. I don't think I necessarily need to, especially because this defence looks really good for Game Week 12. I'm not necessarily sure that's a priority with my transfers right now. So the defence is probably likely to stay the same unless Castagna is out long term. Now, it was an eye injury. I think Roger said he basically took a knock to his eye socket and it was quite bruised and swollen. If it's just a bruise, he'll be fine. And I don't need him for 11, I only need him for 12. If he's fractured his eye socket, which is a possibility, that could be a long-term injury. So I guess we have to just assess it, wait for Roger's update. If Castagna's out, maybe that's a transfer. But otherwise, I think I'm happy with the defence. And I think I'm happy with the midfield, to be honest, as well. Bowen, Foden, Martinelli, Maddison, they're delivering week upon week. And even if, for example, Maddison didn't deliver last week or Martinelli the week before, it doesn't really matter because the rest of the midfield are delivering. And especially Foden and Bowen just look great at the moment. Now, of course, the issue I've got is Bowen plays Liverpool in 12, which it looked like a tricky fixture. Actually might be okay now, and Foden blanks, but I don't necessarily think I need to take them out this week. And then Martinelli and Maddison have 2 good fixtures as well. I've got Andreas as my first sub and my 5th midfielder. There's potentially justification if I make a downgrade of, say, downgrade Kane or Mitrovic. I could upgrade Andreas to like a Trossard, which I am tempted to do. But Andreas just feels like such a good bench option and such a good 5th midfielder that when I do need to call upon him, as a lot of you did this week, you really can call upon him. So I'm not necessarily sure I want to take Andreas out either, which basically leaves me the front 3. Let's ignore Haaland. I'm never selling Haaland. Well, definitely not for the foreseeable future. Kane and Mitrovic are both flagged. And to be honest, if they're both out, it wouldn't even cause me that many issues. I think that'd be quite exciting, to be honest, to give me something to do with my team because I've got 2 free transfers. And with 0 in the bank and not really wanting to change my defence or midfield, I don't even really want to change my attack either. I'm kind of in a position where I've got nothing to do with my transfers. And again, this is a fantastic position to be in. I'm not complaining at all. And if I go into Game Week 11 with a fully fit team, again, I will not complain. But if I do have some injuries, at least it sort of forces my hand on what to use them on. I guess if neither Kane nor Mitrovic are injured, I probably will only use 1 transfer again and I'll just roll again. And I'll just keep rolling my second free transfer until there's a week where I do need both of them. Early thoughts if Kane and Mitrovic are out is to do Kane to someone like a Welbeck or a Solanke and then Mitrovic to just any other striker. The reason I'm thinking of potentially downgrading Kane if he is out, and I don't think he will be because it was only an impact injury, is I do think I want from game week sort of 13 onwards to go with a 1 premium draft. If we're captain Haaland every week, the second premium just isn't going to be as high value. The value in a premium is the fact that you're going to captain them. So early thoughts are, to be honest, Kane probably won't be injured because it didn't look that bad. Mitrovic is a worry, right? The recent press conference or the recent quotes from Marco Silva would suggest that Mitrovic's injury could potentially be worse than we thought. And I think Castagna, I'll leave this week anyway because I don't need him. So I guess very early thoughts with this team is Mitrovic might need to be sold. And if I do, and I don't need to sell Kane, it's probably going to be down to either like a Solanke or a Welbeck or someone of that ilk. Like, I don't think I really need to do anything with the rest of my team. I think it's perfectly fine. So let me know down below what you think of my team. Let me know down below if this was your team, what would your early thoughts be of your transfer plans? Without further ado, we're just going to take a quick look at my Game Week 12 team, just to give you an early insight as to what I'm looking like for the blank game week, and if I have to start making transfers for that right now. So obviously it does depend what happens with Castagna, Kane and Mitrovic and their injuries this week, and it depends what happens in Game Week 11 and what transfer, because I've got 2, so I'm going to make a transfer of some kind in Game Week 11. But let's just say that I didn't make any transfers, and let's say that everyone was fine. This is what the team currently looks like for Game Week 12. So I do currently have 3 City, 1 Arsenal, so Haaland, Cancelo, Foden, Martinelli. As a result, if I choose not to transfer any of them out, I will fill 10 players. And I'll be completely honest, I don't plan on transferring any of them out at the moment, and I plan on playing with 10 players. Now, I know a lot of people say that's not optimal. A lot of managers won't agree with this playing style. I just think it's not worth taking one of them out when I'm going to want all 4 of those I want from 13 onwards. And so it's going to take 2 transfers just to fill the 11th player. And you don't even have a guarantee that that 11th player will do anything. If that 11th player picks up a 2-pointer, all of a sudden you're in a really tricky spot where you've had to use 2 transfers for absolutely no return. So it's a risk that I'm just not willing to take. And I'm perfectly happy taking a small red arrow in 12 if I have to and keeping those 4 players. So at the moment, I'm planning on fielding 10. As I said, I'm actually really happy with the defense. And it's why, unless Castagna is out, I'm not eager to make any defensive transfers because Pope, Trippier, James, Gahey and Castagna is a really strong defence and goalkeeper situation for Game Week 12. The midfield's not perfect, right? Bowen against Liverpool away. Andreas against Villa at home isn't terrible, but I don't think you necessarily want to start Andreas ever, really. Maddison against Leeds at home is currently my captain because I don't really have a stand-up captaincy option at the moment. And then up top, we've got Kane and Mitrovic. Again, decent enough fixtures. Does depend if Mitrovic is out. We may have made a transfer there. So I mean, if I had to roll into Game Week 12 with this team, it's not the end of the world. The attack isn't the strongest. So I guess I'm starting to think a little bit. Do I maybe want to take out Bowen in 12? I know Liverpool's not a terrible fixture, but Liverpool away and the way that West Ham attack, I don't think West Ham are a free-flowing attack still. They still look like they're having a few issues. They did accumulate quite the XG in Game Week 10, so maybe Bowen could be a decent option to keep. But I'm starting to think about the likes of a Trossard, the likes of a Welbeck to potentially bring in because they do have good Game Week 12 fixture. So I guess this is what my team looks like. Just give you a bit of an idea about how I'm currently looking for 12. And just to reinforce the fact that you don't need to field 11 and you don't have to have the strongest team. You will not have the strongest team every week. And I would argue the weaker your team probably looks for 12, the stronger your team will be from 13 onwards. And that will just put you in a really good spot because we've got 4 weeks before the World Cup post Game Week 12. And I think you want to set your team up well for that. So I guess what I'm saying is if your team looks something like that, I wouldn't stress too much. Maybe we'll strengthen it slightly with maybe a couple of Brighton players or someone else with some pretty easy fixture in Game Week 12 and beyond. But this is the way the team looks. Final bit is just to give you a bit of an idea about what my thinking and my thought process is ahead of the upcoming game weeks and how I'm currently planning on navigating FPL. So guys, just to finish the video, this is just to talk about what my strategy currently is in FPL. And this isn't necessarily because of my rank. Let's ignore my rank for now. This is just the way that I am approaching the game. And to be honest, very quickly back to the rank, I don't think I'm going to massively change the way I play FPL based on my rank. I think I play a certain way. It's clearly worked very well for me this season. I think I'll just continue to do that. Pretend I'm at 30, 40k, pretend I'm not at 149th in the world and just ignore all of that and continue to play my game. And if it can continue to shoot me up the rankings, fantastic. If I fall, I fall. So the first thing is, and this is, I think, something that has worked well for me this season, is I'm not forcing anything. I'm not forcing players in, and I'm equally not forcing players out. I'm only selling players that are a real issue to my team, and I'm not getting overly distracted by shiny new toys. And I've got Zaha on the screen here. Zaha was a new shiny toy for me this week. He was a player that I desperately wanted in my team with the fixtures coming up. But I looked at my midfield 4. They weren't issues. And it's a very maybe like pragmatic, boring way to play FPL. But when you don't have a player in your team that's an issue, And I guess when you are doing well, I don't feel a need to force those players out just to get in a player that maybe... I did think Zaha was a better option than most of my midfielders this week, but he wasn't good enough for me to rip up my team to do so. And I think this is the way I'm going to continue to play the game, not forcing players in and equally not forcing players out. The second point is I am going to begin focusing on post-game week 12 from this week. Now, we do obviously want a decent team in game week 12, but I equally think we want to get off to a good start following the blank game week. So for 13, 14, 15, 16, those are 4 critical weeks in the lead up to the World Cup. Remember, we've got basically a complete reset at the World Cup, so everyone's teams can change completely. So I think you want to go in there, go into the World Cup with the strongest possible rank and the strongest possible maybe like team value as well. So I'm not going to get too distracted by Game Week 12. As I said, I'd like a decent team for it. I'm not going to transfer in loads of players that have a good Game Week 12 game. And I'm not going to transfer out all of my City and Arsenal players. So for now, I'm focusing a little bit more on post-Game Week 12. And I'm trying to not get too distracted by Game Week 12. Point 3 is when possible, I'm going to continue to bring in 90-minute men. And this is something I've targeted this year with the likes of bringing in the likes of Bowen, Maddison. Obviously, Foden's played a lot of 90 minutes as well. These kind of players, Mitrovic is a 90-minute man. I've really been focusing on bringing in players with high expected minutes, and I've not brought in a massive amount of rotation risk, and I think that has worked really well for me. So I'm going to continue to bring in 90-minute men, and I'm going to continue to focus, if possible, on bringing in players on penalties and set pieces. And we've seen in recent weeks, Maddison scoring a free kick, Bowen scoring a penalty. Obviously, in other teams as well, players scoring from penalties and from set pieces too. I just think that just goes to... I was thinking Saka was the main one that slipped my mind. Saka scoring a penalty in Game Week 10 as well. These players scoring penalties and getting assists from set pieces and scoring free kicks, it does go to show that if you can bring in players that are not only good options, but have that additional advantage of being on some kind of set piece, it's huge for your team. So if I'm 50-50 between 2 players and one of them is on penalties or is on set pieces, it may make me lean towards them. And also, as I've said here, preferably a talisman, someone that leads their team, someone that is involved in a high percentage of their team's goals. The fourth point, I know I've just said I'm not going to overly focus on Game Week 12, but something I do want to start thinking about, ideally this week, is who I actually think is the best Game Week 12 captain. And I'd love to hear your thoughts down below if you're still watching the video. By the way, if you're still watching it, please do drop a like and please subscribe. We're very close to 40,000 subscribers. But also comment down below, who do you think is the best Game Week 12 captain? Imagine you're on a free hit. Imagine you can own any player in the game. Doesn't matter how expensive they are. Who would you captain? Because even if you gave me full choice, I don't actually know at the moment. I'm thinking maybe like a Darwin or a Jota. Maybe still a Salah. Or do we go like a Trossard, a Maddison? I'm interested to think about this because, yes, I don't think you need to have the perfect team for 12. But if you're in a position where you've got transfers to use and you think there is a standout captaincy in 12, because we're not captaining Haaland, the captaincy in Game Week 12 is going to be very spread across players. And as a result, you're not going to be heavily punished if you get your captain wrong, because I don't think there'll be that many like highly owned captains. But you can really get a fantastic game week rank and really push up if you get your captaincy right. Because I think there'll be a lot of captaincy blanks in Game Week 12. So I'm going to start thinking ahead. Who do I think is the best captaincy option for 12? And can I get them in with my free transfers without changing my overall plan too much? So I guess this is the way I'm currently planning on approaching the game. Obviously, with a little sprinkling of luck in there as well, as we all need. But I'm pretty happy with the way the team's set up. I'm pretty happy with the way I'm approaching the game. And I am, despite the high rank, I'm very excited for future game weeks as well. So guys, there you have it. That is my Game Week 11 transfer plans video done and dusted. Apologies if I've made any mistakes during this video. I feel really under the weather and I feel like I would have said a few things that were a little bit strange. So apologies if I have. If you have enjoyed the video today and you want to make me feel a little bit better, please do drop a like on the video and make sure to subscribe as well. Really trying to hit 40,000 subscribers before the start of Game Week 11. That would be absolutely massive. And I do really appreciate all of the support that you guys have given me over recent weeks on the content. Until next time, guys, thank you very much for watching. Cheers. Bye-bye.